They said they upped the limit, and I guess they did.
Mine was a whopping 24.
Nobody's listening, but it's there for the minutes.
There you go.
Thank you, Brad. I was like, why would you? All right, so we are officially here to, in our meeting, I will start with the approval of the minutes. Did anyone have anything they haven't already shared? I don't know if anyone shared anything with you, Steve, on the minute.
No,
I'm assuming Chat GPT to make
Yeah,
mistakes.
it's doing a really nice job.
So,
We do have, it does just say Michael by Zoom. Do we have a last name for Michael?
I don't, and he's here again,
Oh, okay, well, that's fine if that's,
but I'm.
if he wants to share a last name, he can, and otherwise, we're good. Okay, so I need a motion to accept the minutes.
I move that we accept the minutes as they are.
I second it.
All right, all in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay, the minutes have been accepted.
we're getting pretty good at the
We are, right?
promotion
Well-
thing.
Public comment. Is there any public comment?
Yeah.
Hold on, okay, yes, go ahead.
Okay,
Just want to make sure.
you're gonna be discussing the pilot
That's right.
program.
Yep,
And again, I've been studying with the KUA properties as I've been for many months,
Mhm.
and you keep dismissing it. So what I am, right now, I am placing the board on official notice of 100% variance between the local property cards and the MS1 reports filed with the DRA. And regarding the Bureau of Tax and Lands, the town refuses on a voluntary audit. I will begin the formal process under RSA 71B16, which allows the New Hampshire Board of Tax and Land Appeals to order a reassessment if it's in the public interest.
Mhm.
Now, this requires a 50 signature threshold, which there's no problem in getting that.
Sure.
I've been updating the website with all the information
Mhm.
that will make the town be able to see what I'm talking about. Something you probably already know, but it's not out in the open. So, I will have the community signature. I have surgery coming up.
No, I'm sorry.
So this is why I'm trying to get as much, I delayed my surgery back in March
Mhm.
because of this. And I thought I would be finished, but this project has me losing 48 hours of sleep multiple times because it's so egregious.
Mhm.
And, you know, I'm getting 3 state agencies involved,
Mhm.
and it's also gonna involve legal action
Mhm.
because there's so many laws being broken. And KUA is already aware of this as well. So right now, we're a 2-tier town. KUA has a tuition of $83,300 for boarding, okay? They are thriving. They're a high revenue institution. Meanwhile, our residents are receiving tax bills they can hardly or barely afford. We're here to talk about the fairness gap, okay? There are municipal logs that show KUA properties utilized as of last week, 20% of our fire resources. According to the New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute, towns have the authority to seek payment in lieu of taxes.
Mhm.
We have this person coming for the solar tonight that was in your agenda. This is a measly amount, $6,000. When you have an institution, how much do you know that pilot?
You do know that they pay taxes. You also know
No, no,
that.
no, this is
No.
totally
Wait,
different.
you
So
do know
let
that-
me, I am having a public comment right now,
Okay, that's fine.
okay? At least have the decency to hear me.
Maria, I'm
Thank
listening to, wait, no, I actually,
So-
Maria, I do run this meeting. I am the chair and I'm gonna
Yes.
ask you to stop.
And that's.
I'm gonna
you don't
ask you
want
to
me
stop.
speak Because
I'm
you don't
gonna-
wanna hear
Maria,
what's going
I'm
on.
asking you to stop for a minute and I'm willing to listen to everything you're saying. I just was commenting that KUA pays taxes, and I am listening to you. I've listened to you every meeting you come to. The fact that I disagree with your interpretation of it we disagree. It's fine. I mean, it's not fine to you, but we
But have
disagree.
you actually seen the
Yes,
website?
but Maria-
Every single tax
Maria?
card.
Maria,
Okay, let me just continue because I get, like I said, I've been
Okay,
losing
that's
sleep
fine.
trying to research this.
That's
This is
fine.
an investigation
Mhm.
that's gonna go.
And
far
and I
wide.
just want to say, it's fine that you're doing that. I want you to understand, and I want to say this publicly. The fact that you are getting signatures, that you're going to these agencies, I'm sure have no problem with that. You're welcome to do that. But if they tell us that we're in the wrong, we're in the wrong. But I do want to stand by our assessor, as I've said before, and I know you disagree, but that's where we are right now. I know, you've done an investigation. I don't know what your qualifications are to do that, but go ahead. Finish what you have to say, and then we'll get on with our meeting.
State right out in the open. If somebody bothers to even look at it,
Mhm.
they would say, how come there were the assessor's tax actually said, this is how much it could be taxed, but it was manually removed and now tax is zero.
I know you think.
So
we're-
let me hear why there's no transparent pilot in our budget to cover the 20% load. Okay, for the stuff. Now here, the legal mandate is RSA 7223. Under RSA 7223, buildings are only accepted if used directly and exclusively for educational purposes.
Mhm.
Our audit of 53 properties, but there's more properties that I haven't even gotten a chance to because he has not sent me all the information. So it shows luxury faculty housing and thousands of acres of raw land currently sheltered. Failing to tax these non-instructional assets is a dereliction of fiduciary duty to the rest of the taxpayers. So we're asking for favors. We're asking for a forensic audit of the town inventory to ensure the law is applied to the elite just as strictly as it is for the applied for the regular citizen. Now, right now is, I'm gonna be, it's not just a local grievance, but now we're gonna be talking about constitutional defense. So
About
law-
what? Sorry.
Constitutional.
more law related items. So the law RSA 7223 is based on the unconstitutional gap, Rand versus state. And the failure that the town to strictly audit KUA exemptions while local property taxes are already found unconstitutionally high creates a legal double burden on residents. So we're citing this Superior Court mandate.
Wouldn't
for
that be
tax
the same
equity.
burden?
What?
Why is that two different burdens? Why isn't that the same burden?
Because right now, we're not even covering the pilot for KUA. We're not covering all expenses that any other town, like
I'm just
for
looking for
example,
the logic.
Lebanon and all the. KUA is not the only institution, educational institution. We have St. Paul, we have there's another,
There are many in
institution.
New
Yeah,
Hampshire,
there's
there are
others.
many, yeah. So,
Their towns, their town specifically charges them for pilot. What are we charging? Zero, because yes, you're paying 200,000 for taxes and our largest taxpayer in town. They're still not paying, they're just due for all the other properties that are not being taxed, that are being marked as exempt, and they're not. So let me just continue here. So what I need to make sure is that Rand versus state,
mhm.
it says, according to the Rand versus state ruling from this January, local property taxes are already being used unconstitutionally to bridge the state's funding cap. In Plainfield, this gap is being widened even further by the failure to rigorously audit institutional exemptions. Every dollar we gift to 100 million institution through the lack of scrutiny is a dollar unconstitutionally extracted from the taxpayer and every homeowner in this town. Now, there's also there's an interim study. The state legislature is currently debating HB 1293 because they recognize that uncapped exemptions are no longer sustainable. We have a single KUA building like the $16.7 million health center that exceeds this proposed 1 million threshold 16 times over. So the state is behind and will eventually correct these problems. Because if you follow the state, then you cannot be gifting KUA all these funds. So basically, if the state is moving toward capping these, why is our select board not at least renegotiating to local pilot to reflect today's inflation and KUA's current 100 million footprint? So with the pilot is most pilots payment in lieu of taxes are handshake agreements or a fixed dollar amounts that don't account for the consumer price index or property expansion. Here, you're gonna be discussing a $6,000, which is a measly amount that you're gonna charge these people with the solar people. You have KUA with over 80,000 per student tuition. Years ago, we subsidized it and we continue to subsidize them, and this is wrong. And so basically, what we need to do is all the properties that are used for non-educational revenues, such as summer camps or rentals or whatever doesn't fit, like the housing for staff, that is not educational, okay? That is part of their employment agreement. So you are expecting, and you have made our taxpayers pay for these luxury homes so that KUA can hire them as part of their employment package.
I think there's some people at KUA who live there who would disagree with the term luxury for their housing, but that's fine. So
take a
is
look at
this,
what the
Maria, can I just
headline
ask, because we do have a lot on our agenda,
Yeah.
are you
But then
getting
I will
to?
send you. I
to
will
your
send
point?
this- Yeah, I will send all this. Again, I
Yeah.
request that an audit be made.
Yeah.
And just like last month,
Yeah.
but in April, the last meeting,
Mhm.
you already knew about that barn that was moved from one place to the
That
other
happened
place.
years ago.
Yes, but
That happened
guess
before
what?
COVID.
That barn still is
Okay.
being shown as
That's-
exempt on the tax card.
And we certainly
And
can
then the
have some,
barn is shown
Yeah.
as exempt on the other card. And the fire department has been at that other location where the
question?
old barn was.
I'd
So
like to
I-
make a comment.
yeah, go ahead, but please.
After, before your question.
Well, I'm gonna go quickly before. So
Yeah.
when because well, I don't even think I want to, because I don't think you're going to listen to it. But when you talk about the fire department, so when you talk about I'm gonna say it, when you talk about things like a pilot, right, in lieu of taxes, to me, that's thinking of things like, what if KUA had a fire brigade where these kids showed up got trained to be on our volunteer fire department and showed up at every fire call, and people from KUA donated money to the fire department and donated money, for fire trucks. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
Well, if
It
it's
already
happening-
happens,
well,
Maria.
If it's happening, great.
It
But
happens,
That's
and that-
because the money that they have is the money that they should have paid for their properties.
But that's what a
They
pilot does,
mentioned-
Maria. That's exactly what a
No,
pilot is.
the pilot is
Okay.
for
Well,
all the other expenses. The town plows their property and the town does, their
they
streets and
don't,
everything.
they don't.
We
So,
pay.
Maria, they
as
don't plow,
taxpayers.
Maria,
Yeah.
they don't plow their property.
Well, they
They
plow the
do
street.
not.
They plow the streets where they don't pay any property
They
taxes.
plow the public streets. Okay, so thank you. I am gonna let
No
Kent
problem.
speak
Yeah, thank
and reiterate once again that we are not going to be conducting a forensic
Yeah, no,
audit, Barbara,
that's
and you're
okay. You have it
welcome
on
to
record,
challenge
in
that.
Writing, on video.
Yep, and you're
when-
welcome to
when the
challenge
state-
that.
Yeah, and
That's
when the
fine.
state starts auditing you.
Yeah.
And starts bringing all these.
And they're welcome to, and we will have we'll have a
But do you-
conversation with
do
them
you
about
really
it.
know what you're talking about?
I do.
That's the whole-
I actually
Really?
do.
Okay.
I do,
I'm glad
thank you.
do. Thank you.
All right, so,
Yeah, Ken.
what I wanna say is,
Sure.
everybody I know in Plainfield, and I know a fair amount of people, wants KUA to pay every cent they owe us in taxes, wants a fair level playing field as far as assessments and what they pay, so they can have their school, they can educate kids and all that. Nobody wants anything that's unfair. Everybody wants fairness when it comes to how much you pay in taxes,
Mhm.
how much I pay in taxes,
Yeah.
how much Stephanie's family pays in taxes, how much KUA pays in taxes.
Mhm.
Everybody wants the tax bill to be fair. If there are issues with it,
Mhm.
it's not that we can afford easily, let's just have another assessment, or let's go ahead and, listen, let's do 10 assessments. And then, tell the citizens of Plainfield, this is out of your pocket, so guess what, your taxes are going up because we're gonna do all these assessments. And so, I don't think there's anybody who thinks that KUA should get away with something, or should not pay their due, we're all for that. So, if there's but we have a very competent assessor, from what I understand, who has worked on many, assessments that involve private schools in towns. And so there is no reason to assume necessarily that there's a problem. And if there's a problem, then we need to approach it in a constructive manner, that
Correct.
it's laid out, here's the issue, here's the problem. When we start throwing around all these, HB this and SB that and all that sort, it gets to be a little bit like, it needs to be broken down, and it needs to be laid out in a fair and
Well, I have tried.
friendly and public manner, and if it can't be, well, then it's not constructive.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
And
Thank
so,
you.
and I would just add, I mean, we are 3 weeks later, and you still, Maria, have never come over to the town office and looked at the book that KUA has, the book that is the Bible.
I am
As that,
looking at what you sent me, the text.
but what I have told you, and I'm telling you for the recording,
Many times. in
is
this
that
room.
there is a book that has the KUA documents, and I'm pointing out that you have not taken the time to come look at it.
And it may clear some of your questions up. It really may, just genuinely may.
I don't know when the last.
And I
time
add,
it was
there's a
updated.
discrepancy and there's
Yeah.
something that's not above ground and above board and unfair, well, let's deal with it.
Right, there is no question.
Innuendo and,
Right, there is absolutely no question that in a complex as big as Kimball Union is.
Absolutely.
You can find an error on a tax card,
yeah.
just like you could find an error on your own tax card.
I would
By
like,
and large, Kimball Union Academy, George Hildem sat on on the Board of Assessing for the city of Concord, where they dealt with St. Paul's. George has assessed KUA for 30
Amen.
years. Multiple revals, multiple reviews by the New Hampshire DRA. There is nothing institutionally wrong with the way we assess KUA. They are our largest taxpayer because we sunsetted the optional exemption. That was a choice that KUA made and voters concurred. The rest of the buildings, a whole bunch of them are not taxable because they are educational buildings. Faculty housing is not taxable
Nor
because
is
it's
it luxury.
faculty, it's faculty housing. And kitchens, dining halls, and dormitories. New Hampshire is the only state in the union that charges educational institutions for kitchens, dining halls, and dormitories, essentially, over $150,000. And so KUA pays more tax than they would in most any other place, but it is assessed in a way that is fair and reasonable.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
And
What
Elise
is
would
the-
like to speak, and then we're gonna wrap up this conversation, because it really isn't something that's.
Well, he made a statement. where-
excuse me,
No.
Yeah.
it's, I get
Elise
to
will be
speak.
speaking.
There's information that has been offered as available as it would be for anyone who lives in the town. But our town manager is not a secretary. And it is not his job to be sending information that is available for any of our residents to come to the town hall to get.
There's the. right
He
to know
just-
law.
And you're welcome to come to the town.
You
hall
are
again.
welcome to come
Send
to
it
the
to everybody,
town
please.
hall
Yeah.
to get that
Yes.
information.
Send it to me in writing.
He is, no. This is the way that this works. If you want to know about the tax cards, there's a folder here that you need to come and look at. He's not gonna send you anything. It's not his job.
Somebody's.
I'm done.
It is.
He's told you this and it's in writing. I know it's been in emails he sent you, but we're done with
We're
this
done.
conversation for the evening. We're gonna move on. Because I don't think we're being productive.
No.
At this point. So now we are on department reports. I'm just
Sure,
Unless
so,
there's someone who has to go.
Oh, no, we wanna stay.
so last meeting I made the mistake of saying that things had slowed down, so.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, so in the
That'll
last
teach ya.
22 days since the last meeting, we've had 17 fire calls.
17,
17,
22 days. Good for
One
you.
each day or?
no, so we had 3 last night during the storm.
Oh,
2 trees and wires, and then we sent our tanker to Enfield because they had a tree come over on a propane tank that was actively leaking.
Oh my gosh.
We had 3 motor vehicle crashes. 2 propane leaks, one of them was significant, on Lawton Lane. And then we had an illegal burn, we had a medical assessed, and so, yeah, it's just been clumped together, but yeah, when I went back, I knew it had been busy, but I went back since the last meeting, which was 22 days. 2 days at 17 calls. So if you chopped it off at May 1st, that's a third. That's a third of the year, we had 55. Which that, if it continued at that rate, would give us 165 for the year, where we've been running between 120 and 140 every year, so we still are ahead, but it's not. It seems like it's astronomical, but it is still kind of on schedule.
Mhm.
I'm not used to actually tracking it from call to call, I just go when we get tone, so. Other things that have happened, attended a school safety meeting yesterday, you may hear more from Rob, but we did a tabletop drill at the school for unwanted adult was inside the school. I've done a tent inspection, a house inspection, and Friday I'll do my first oil burner permit. So in New Hampshire, oil burners, when they're installed, have to get a fire permit, but there's no permit for propane at all, which doesn't make sense, but that's the way that things
okay.
will work. And they, got a building permit for that.
So what does that mean? That means you go in and look at the whole oil system and somebody's.
Yeah, and there's a whole, the state, yeah, and the state has like a 5-page thing, and it's a whole bunch of check marks that you go through to say that, you know, is the pipe protected? You're not gonna trip on it, break a pipe, is
Right.
the tank, and they're putting a whole new tank in, and is everything.
Is that a form that's ending up in a building permit file or in our, what would you do with the results? You hand it to
Put it in
them and
my
then,
set of files that I pass on to the next chief. It could go into the building permit, I suppose.
it feels
I
like
mean, we
that.
can put a copy in the.
Well, if they
in the
need a
file if you
building
want us to.
permit for it.
So, well, that was a discussion that we had. Did they need a building permit or not? But since they
okay.
contacted Steve and said, yes, if they called me directly, I probably would have gone and given them one and not thought about charging them another $50 for a building permit to replace their furnace.
Right, so we did not do a building permit, we did
Right.
the permit that he's doing.
Yeah,
Ah.
and that's fine, but I think anything that has been inspected, that there's a certain expectation of either party is helpful to have in that building file, the property file.
Cause I mean, I have a whole set of folders for all my, you know, like the place assembly permits
Yeah,
and all these other permits that
I don't know. Yeah, that's an interesting,
Bill gave me his whole
We could-
file and I saw,
yeah,
like, when I
no,
do it.
but so starting to think about getting what kind of paperwork and information should we be storing about facilities? Is like, okay, inspection schedules and the results thereof. That
Right,
seems
and
pretty
before
important.
Friday, I need to go back and look, cause this is a state
Yeah,
form that I fill out and sign the bottom of, whether I
Right.
have to submit that to the state or not. I haven't. I've
Yeah.
gotta go back and look. It's been a couple weeks.
well, I think,
Since we set up the
I think we could look into it and figure out an efficient way to either index it so that it points to your file system, or we get copies in. I'm a little against like lots of paper copies that just sit there in most cases.
Well,
um,
that's what it is now. It's a,
Right, but one is less
Very
offensive than 3,
Yeah.
and so maybe there's a better way, but it seems like relevant information.
yeah, so I'll relook at the form too to see if I send it to the state, I'll definitely get something over here.
Yeah.
We can go on that. The executive council down in Concord is, supporting a New Hampshire CPR challenge for EMS week, which is the 15th till 23rd. I might have my dates wrong. So anyway, so they are pushing everywhere in the state to have different fire departments open for a learn how to do chest compression CPR in 15 minutes. So it's not a certified Red Cross course or whatever. And so with Margaret Dry on the 22nd, that Friday from noon to 1, we're gonna be at the 12A station, and people can register and come by and we'll have the
Is that May 22nd?
May 22nd. Yes, mannequins, there you go. The politically correct way to say it, CPR dummy. You can't say dummy. And then,
Right, you can't say dummy.
no, and then that Saturday, the school is doing a blood drive, so we got permission to piggyback on them. So from noon to 1, we'll be at the school when they're doing the blood drive.
Right.
And she's working with Bill Hartman to do one in Cornish. So this is something they're trying to do statewide, and so this all started with Karen Wyatt Hill. So you'll see some more publicity about that. I just got permit, the school one set up today, so then we'll put it on Facebook and stuff to get people to come. Thursday, a week from today, the Grafton Sullivan Forest Fire Wardens Association meeting. Well, which I'm the president, is at our 12A station, so that's dinner at 7, meeting at 8. So Arlene Berry's gonna cook for us, and she's on the organization as well, so we're putting on that next week.
Terrific.
And then, come the beginning of June, we will be doing the full school evacuation drill for the Plainfield School, and that's, we'll be shutting down the road and we walk all the kids to the theater.
Which day was that? Did you say? Oh, you can't say.
I don't remember which day
Oh,
it is.
okay.
June 2nd at
June
1:30.
I thought I missed it. That's all. And then I didn't know if it was a surprise drill and
No, no,
I'm
no.
ruining it. Yeah, okay.
I didn't go back and look up.
No, I know, I was just curious. I
Yeah.
thought I missed it.
Yeah, so June 2nd, we'll be doing that as well, and then similar to other years, they try to do that every 2 or 3 years. They'll have the student pickup over there for the parents as well.
And as I understand it, the safe facility for the kids is the KUA Flickinger Art Center.
Yes, if they have to evacuate, and since the school has contracted buses, so there's no buses on site, and there hasn't been for years, we put the big red trucks across the road and close the road, and we walk them, and they're fast. It's less than 15 minutes they walk.
Yeah.
Wow.
They hoof right up that hill, man.
Oh, yeah.
They're incredible to go.
So they match the 8th graders up with the kindergartners, and that way, so all
Yeah,
the.
he says they're kindergarten getting up the hill, right? Yeah. Okay.
So we had one meeting about that already, and we'll be having another meeting
May 19th.
May 19th. And next week, I'm meeting with the engineer and the architect and the facilities manager and someone from the school. They keep changing who's in charge over there lately. Next Tuesday to start looking at their plans before they do their construction.
Yeah, I think that starts on June 13th, school and.
This is at PES.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the middle school edition.
Right.
They start.
And originally they were gonna start before school was over, but they
So that was a
came to
lesson.
expenses. They don't need all that noise and digging holes for
Yeah.
concrete stuff outside while school's in session. So that's, but also, so I pulled Jamie into that next Tuesday.
Great.
Well, right before the school meeting.
Good.
I'm busy. That's what I could remember sitting in my truck while I was eating Meriden Deli.
We also
before the
maybe.
meeting.
All right, I should put my order in.
Great, thank you. Steph?
Well, he said a lot of mine, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm sure everybody,
Teamwork.
understands that we all need more hours in a day. It has been a roller coaster ride for the last couple weeks. Just a lot going on. I'm happy to report that our young family who has been staying at Singing Hills, we've secured really great housing for
Okay.
them. In a income-based apartment, complex in Claremont. And so we pulled a lot of, resources and a lot of favors, but, it's really a good place for them. So food pantry is open tomorrow from 9 to 10:30, drive through. We had a fabulous April Spring Fling luncheon. The Estherbrook kids came and they sang for us during our dessert, and for 4 kiddos, they rocked it. I mean, they were so loud and articulate, and it was so exciting.
They didn't need the microphone.
No, they didn't, no, they didn't, and they were so happy and proud to be up there. It was really a great way to kick off spring. Walmart actually donated tulip and daffodil bulbs, so everybody was able to walk away with a couple packages of bulbs, which was really great. I had some leftovers, so today or yesterday, I can't remember, but Darlene, Royce and Cindy, were at the town hall and planted a whole bunch of bulbs. So next spring in front of the town hall, it'll be so beautiful. So, yeah, lots of things going on, a lot of balls in the air, but, everything is turning out. Like I told Steve the other day, I was thrown a lot of sour lemons, but I made the sweetest lemonade. So that's the way we're gonna
Thank you,
end it.
as always.
Thanks, Tim.
We don't get to see you here often.
Thanks. I am pinch hitting for Chief Gutsfeld. He didn't get word, he had a nasty fever,
No.
and although we usually get viruses through the computer, he's protecting us from it. Staying on his computer, so we
And very
appreciate
nice
that.
of Chief to join us.
Thank
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully he's feeling better. So I'm gonna just cover stats for him, and we'll answer any questions between the two of us you guys might have after that. So for April activity, we did 134 calls for service. Highlights were we had 2 thefts, 1 fraud call. We assisted at 4 fire calls that we logged. We assisted at 7 medical calls townwide. One of them was an untimely that ended up with an extended scene time for myself and Chief Gutsfeld of over 4 hours. We had to wait for a medical examiner. That process is just labor intensive for us. Not complaining, just want you to know where the time goes sometimes. We had 8 significant motor vehicle accidents in April. That means that they either had significant damage or injury. One of them was in the water, it blocked 120. One of them was almost in the water, it blocked part of River Road for a while on the recovery. 2 motorcycle crashes in that time period. One was in our town, the other one was in Lebanon that we got drawn into because they were all tied up on a more significant call. And it was just over our town line, so they asked us to handle that for them. It was a chance for us to pay them back a little bit. 3 motor vehicle complaints for the month. 1 we did catch up to, and it resulted in a DUI arrest and suspended driver. Enfield PD backed us up on that one, so we got a little help from them. Another one was an arrest by the Cornish chief that happened in Plainfield. It's with an individual who we were both very aware of. He actually, I suspected he ran from me on his motorcycle a week and a half prior. He was also under suspension because we've had other issues. And just so it's clear, we really don't pursue unless there's an immediate life safety threat, because we don't want to encourage the speeds to put other people in jeopardy. That is particularly true of motorcycles. Both Chief Gutsfeld and I feel like we know who we're dealing with. If we can, I waited at the kid's house hoping to make an arrest there. It didn't happen, but we were able to get him another day with the help of Cornish. We did 11 vacant house checks, 2 criminal mischiefs, which are vandalism. That was real damage to real property in April. Host of other just motorist assist, animal complaints, some noise complaints, some civil issues, 1 juvenile issue, a littering issue, and a couple down wires that we assisted with. For the whole month of April, we did 8 after-hour call-outs, and we had 1 call handled by New Hampshire State Police on Sunday afternoon. It wasn't because we couldn't cover it, it was because they've still made a commitment to be up in our area more. We had a trooper that had told us he's gonna be up listening to our channel. He knew we were on call, and it was a panic button at one of the churches on a Sunday, so he knew he was in the area and he just covered it for us, which we appreciated. It's also good for troopers to get more familiar with our buildings. Primary public complaints I think that we fielded were primarily motorcycles with speed. When the weather was nice, they started up their 12A route. We are aware of it. We have issues on River Road, we have issues on 120, and then cars that sometimes get mistaken for motorcycles. They have that popcorn tune, so we're starting to hear an uptick of those cars. That popcorn tune is when they overfuel it by tuning the motor. It's usually a smaller import, and it sounds like either firecracker or a shotgun going off. They also have those on motorcycles, so it's possible they are hearing a motorcycle, but I think the two are our primary complaints. And then we've had a couple, target practice complaints so far. One without tannerite, the other one with tannerite, and I think there was two total with tannerite, that's an exploding target.
Yeah.
Which is a little jarring for people if they're not used to it. Non-CFS stuff, we had coffee with a cop, that was coupled with our drug take back day, which was a national event. We had about, I think it was eight to 10 visitors that stopped in to talk with us, have a coffee, some cookies. We collected a total of 19.5 pounds of medications, not all on that day, that's our,
Oh,
since our
okay.
last, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's almost 20 pounds, but that's since the
For big
last one,
people.
that was October.
Yeah.
But that's a good sign, it is a lot of medication, I think our residents do a regular job of coming in, they know we have the box and they get rid of their stuff early.
And we collected every luncheon too.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
We
good.
can do that.
yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, we are very proactive for a small community and getting rid of our unneeded medications. We got the radar trailer out early in the month and the radar sign out. We were holding off for the cold weather because that kills our batteries and we don't like salt on the equipment. But it spent most of April out somewhere. Primarily, we were on 12A, Main Street here, Willowbrook Road, and Route 120. We tried to target for when they do soccer.
I know, I
games.
like the new little
I like the little
soccer
Yeah, it's good.
icon,
Found
yeah.
that.
It does make you stop
Yeah,
though, and
it's
think
good.
about
Trying,
kids.
trying to make them realize it's for
Yeah.
them, not just because of PD's.
No, it's a
telling
good one,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
But you'll see that out there more. We got 2 more brackets out for the radar sign. So we installed them on existing street signs on Main Street so we can catch traffic both ways. And we have 2 more brackets that we're waiting for signposts still to be installed so that we can get those out there in a couple different locations. So for total, we have 6 brackets out in the town. 2 on Main Street, 2 on 12A, and 2 on Route 120. We got a lot of work done in the evidence room. Chief Gutzfeld kind of took the bull by the horn there. We cleared a lot of backlog of outstanding cases that we did not need to store. That was a project that was embarked on 2 administrations ago. It was assigned to one individual that used to work here. We, for a lot of reasons, we heard why it wasn't getting done, and when he really dug into it, we found we made the cheapest form of a real estate investment we could do by getting rid of stuff we don't need. And having the space that we've been looking for. We're gonna continue to work on that. We also had some court-ordered destruction from a case that we dealt with in 2024 that was taking up some space, so that freed up some space as well. And in the office, if you haven't been in there, we were able to get rid of some of we disposed of some unused and broken furniture. We got rid of that old safe. We repurposed a shelf that we were gonna use upstairs for better access for some of our equipment. And we got rid of some outdated materials that were taking up space. So again, I think we're making some really good
It looks good.
headway
great.
for space. We interviewed one potential candidate with a New Hampshire law enforcement credential. We had a total of 3 applicants prior to him that had some form of experience or another, but they wouldn't have been good transfers. We couldn't get them through without full academy, so we didn't pursue them. This particular one does not have a lot of experience, but he does have a credential, so there'll be more to stay tuned. We are gonna
Okay.
pursue this one because it's a solid lead. We installed a new and improved design flagpole to replace the one that we damaged in high winds. And the chief purchased a New Hampshire flag along with a new American flag, so we're ready for the 250th with our flagpole right here, with lights in.
So busy, wow, this is a lot for one guy, yeah.
This is the fun stuff, the first
Okay,
stuff is
yeah.
not fun.
Yeah.
We did attend the PES safety committee meetings, the chief did, and then we provided the tabletop exercise for them to go through. It was, in a nutshell, it was to test their staff-wide thinking of the lockdown drill with a little bit more of a higher risk than just a drill. I think we had some good discussions. We ran out of time before we could really hot wash it with them, but we did identify a couple things that we need to look into. And we identified that we actually need to do a lockdown drill with our school, similar to a fire drill. So they're gonna try to pull that off before the end of the year if they can squeeze that in. Finalize the plans for the evacuation drill with them in coordination with fire. And we have the PTA bike rodeo this Saturday, 1 to 3. If anybody's bored and they want to come down and see the kids ride the bikes around on a couple different courses, we'll be giving out helmets. We have new stickers that we're gonna give out that look like that.
very cool, the Black Hawks.
Oh,
skiing, it's
very cool.
Mountain bike.
We tried last year with just the sticker patches and found that it was really popular with the little kids, but not so popular with the junior high kids. Hopefully this one has a smaller Plainfield PD sticker on it, we'll get a little more attention. We also attended a KUA Safe Children Committee meeting, they do that annually, both the chief and I attended that with them. KUA has some more reportable stuff because of the population they deal with and their residential, they have a handle on it. It was just a good opportunity for us to see the faces that have changed and discuss some of the issues. We have an MOU with them in place that works pretty well. And we have good communication so that when we do have crimes that affect them, we're aware of it and we kind of work at it as a team. We let them handle what they can handle. We get involved when we have to. We attended the community luncheon and had a good time listening to the singers. You already covered that. And we completed a 30-day trial with our HPU modem that I think the chief had kind of told you we were looking into. So we have a proposal we want to ask you for. I'm going to give you the particulars. I have a lot of notes and questions on the background. I don't want to bore you with it unless you want to hear it. And if you think of something that you don't think of tonight because we're throwing so much information at you, don't hesitate to reach out to us because we've given this one a lot of thought. The summary is, we are going to request that you'll authorize us to purchase 3 MegaFi 2 HPUE, which stands for high, I have it written down here, high purpose use modems for the 3 cruisers that will power our MDTs. This will uncouple. Right now, we combine our MDTs, our mobile data terminals. Those are our computers. They have a software program that we get dispatched through, and it's where we store our information for our RMS. That is coupled with our body worn camera system. They share 1 SIM card, 1 modem, and they transmit this data back and forth. Simply put, because I like things in a simple thing that I can relate to, it's like a garden hose that's this big, and all the data that's been pushed at us in the last 4 years has it plugged, so it doesn't function. We need to uncouple them. We proved that to ourselves through a bunch of troubleshooting that I can get into at a later date if you want. And this is the best avenue for us to uncouple and purchase this modem. This modem is designed specifically to make the transition from 4G to 5G, which is throughout our area. And it powers the antenna. The high user interface it's a powered antenna that when it has a signal, it doesn't break from it. So we think that that's why we saw such good results with it, was their technology, and we didn't put our body camera videos constantly trying to plug that garden hose. It's a separate garden hose now. The purchase price is $1,099 each for a total one-time cost of $3,300. The installation is $350 each for a one-time cost total of $1,150. And then the monthly subscription to run it is going to be $37.99 each. Times 3 is $125.97 monthly, for a total annual expense from here on out, it's going to be $1,511. So a total one-time cost in 2026 of $4,450 to install these things in the cars. And then an ongoing expense every year of $1,511 to maintain the service and keep the other ones separate. That's what we're looking for.
Is it already in your budget or is this in addition to what's out in the budget? So you don't.
I don't want to answer where it would be appropriate for Steve to answer, but we did not specifically budget for this.
Right.
We do have equipment, we have other equipment we need to
That's my
purchase. that we
question,
haven't
like, I know you didn't know this was.
Yeah.
going down.
I had recommended to Rob and Eric that because we have not hired a 3rd officer as soon as we thought we might, that to preserve the reserve funds for larger purchases later, that we use the operating budget for this. I mean, it's,
So there's money.
yes,
there,
the
right?
answer is there
That's-
is money in the.
Fungible, all that.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it obviously in the future years, the capital cost is fairly nominal by town standards at $5,000. The greater,
Right.
the greater budgetary cost is the $1,100 forever. Or which will
they'll
be bigger,
need to.
over time, but I'm convinced from talking to Eric and talking to Rob that they are this is well vetted and it's something that's gonna help them with their communications in the vehicles. And so we have the funds.
We did look at, just for some cost comparison. The Hanover Dispatch wanted us to do this a couple of years ago, because we've had problems, if you look at my timeline notes, we've had problems since we went to this system and we went to this system. And it's a perfect storm combination of things that happened with technology that we had in a changing environment that we couldn't keep up with. They wanted us to purchase something called a Cradle Point modem. They've purchased those for all their cruisers. They've kept them updated. We got a quote on that for 2025. That would cost us $1,361 per unit. It's a Cadillac modem, but it doesn't have this powered antenna. So we could drive a Cadillac on a dirt road in Plainfield and be as frustrated as we are with Volkswagen.
I think, yes.
And that's why we think going with the powered antenna is a better solution to
Perfect.
future-proof us here for more needs with technology than just going with a Cadillac modem that can go back and forth between this 4G and 5G stuff. And I'm not a techie. I've done a lot of research on just the last month trying to even learn the difference between 4G and 5G. I didn't know that if you have a 5G network and a 5G modem in a 4G area, that you're not gonna be able to use it effectively, and it really does slow down. So it makes sense to me to have something that can transition back and forth, but it also makes sense to put your power on an antenna because we have nothing more than weak signal areas. The other option that some of the departments that we spoke to are going to is Starlink. Starlink relies on satellites. A lot of them are saying you can move a lot more data much quicker through a satellite connection. But that is $2,000 per each modem, same installation price, and $55 a month for the subscription. And then the cons are, they report poor reception with heavy cloud cover. We live in New England, we have heavy cloud cover regularly, and heavy vegetation cover.
Yeah.
We have nothing but heavy vegetation above
Maybe
half. of it.
excellent for others, right? It might not be the best. for
Right,
us.
so I guess if we were in Arizona, we might
Right.
look into Starlink, but it doesn't make sense here.
And this
And
power,
ours is actually cheaper than those two.
and this powered antenna is not susceptible to cloud cover or the
I don't-
heavy vegetation?
I don't wanna answer that like an expert, cause I would imagine yes, and the sales guy is not gonna.
The sales gonna, is gonna, yeah.
But I suspect from what I do understand, a powered antenna is gonna do better than a non-powered antenna every time. And although we still may have some areas, I tried to find a couple, April was kind of busy, it was a tough time to go out of my way to go to an area I know is trouble. But an area that we all know that I call the Bermuda Triangle is the intersection of Hell Howell and Stage Road, because everything goes dark there. The satellite radio goes dark, the phone doesn't work, the MDT doesn't work, even the radio doesn't.
Yeah.
So you always have to know where your sweet spots are to move just a little bit east or west to get a connection when we do a crash there, or we do another call there. And this didn't work in the Bermuda Triangle, but it worked in all the sweet spots very well. And the other modem doesn't work in the sweet spots very well. It usually depends on us getting even further down the road. So
Okay.
I think the powered antenna is not a solution to every situation, but I think it's the best solution that's out there for us right now.
Mhm.
I would suggest it's by Rob's presentation, it's pretty obvious they've done their homework.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm hearing.
exactly. I don't, yeah,
I mean, I don't know how, I think it's very reasonable and it's within budget.
I would, yeah. So,
So I move that we approve the spending for the purchase of the modems for our police cruisers. And, with the knowledge that there's a subscription price that goes from year to year. Does that work?
I think
Yeah.
that
works
works.
fine.
I think that works fine. Yeah.
I second it.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Chief, thank you. And if
Thank
there's any
you.
questions
Thank
that
you.
pop up,
Yeah,
No.
Investigating that and looking at the different.
Good work.
and I appreciate your thoroughness, and I have no doubt that I could look at that, but I wouldn't come up with anything.
Thanks, chief.
Thank you, everyone. Rob, thank you for the
I
presentation.
feel better.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, man.
Go have some of that bread that Tammy brought to the coffee with the cop. That was good. That'll make you feel better.
Yeah, cause you sound terrible.
Oh.
It was good.
It was good.
That was excellent.
Anything else, Rob?
No, that's it. Unless there's any questions.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah,
good.
that was very clear.
you.
Okay.
So also busy time since the last meeting.
We don't have to compete. It's okay.
I know.
Yeah, keep one upping
And I didn't see your notes.
us.
So I guess most exciting thing is that the roof on the highway garage is progressing very
Yeah.
well.
That's really
All the structural reinforcement is done. There's a complete new roof deck, so the new roof is tight for the weather. They're starting on the metal trim, and the metal for the main roof is due probably early next week. So at the rate they're moving, barring the weather like today, middle to end of next week, they may be finished, or the following week, but certainly well in time for our target of before snow flies.
Mhm.
And it's been, they've hit it with a pile of guys. And, you know, we've worked through it. We had Miles come down and inspect the first thing to make sure that they were on the right track when they got started. And so it's been a good project.
We're doing a little masonry
A
work.
little bit, we found that we need a little more attention to the top layer of the brick on the chimney, the concrete blocks. They're just 40 years old and
We didn't
Um,
think it was all gonna go. that way.
we're not done yet.
Okay.
But I think we're over most of those issues.
Yes, I think we're in good shape and.
I mean, it just makes so much sense to do the chimney now,
Well, you're
we'll
up
put
there.
permanent roof in.
Before, get it out of the way before the new metal.
So
comes.
just get it fixed. and
Well,
then-
and they're already up there, so.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's 2 blocks.
Yeah, 2 on either side, plus the clay tile that is currently attached to the, you know, it's hard to get.
Do you think,
It's-
just because I'm a big proponent of this in my own house, would this be a good time to have them seal the rest of it while they're there?
Seal it?
With a sealer,
Um,
they're concrete seal.
Sure. We can talk
We'll
about
talk
that
about
later. I put my money in a cat first.
Okay.
And.
But just
I've been
something
talking
to
about that.
protect it, since
Yeah.
it's our building long term.
No,
Are they gonna clean the chimney while they're up there so Santa Claus can visit Rich?
I'll ask them to write up a change order for that.
They would like that.
They would like that a lot.
Yeah, they would enjoy it.
So Marshall Beatty's back in town and he's our go-to guy for painting. And I walked through 3 projects with him. We're gonna have him, the railings on the front of the porch were something that we've been watching, they starting to flake. a
Of
little
this
bit,
building.
Of this building. And then, you'll see on the front side, we're gonna basically look at this side of the building and do what needs to get done. We're not quite sure how far up we'll have to go.
Like so many old homes, and we think it's important, and I know you think it's important, that we keep town hall looking good. But as an old building, it is a struggle. I mean, it leaks some air, it gets some moisture issues. Holding paint on this building is a challenge.
Yeah, it has, so you have a bonding issue at that innermost layer of paint, because that's the oldest, and it was probably a lead-based paint, but it is the thing that gives, and once that gives, you can put as many layers as you want, but it's tentative how long it hangs on there, and that's the real dilemma of these buildings. To reside this building would be a monstrous ticket.
I mean, we did last fall do maybe 8 or 10 rows of clapboards on the bottom that we had struggled with. And so Brad, set up a spec for Marshall and he met that and put it, and I think that for the worst areas may be some of the solution.
Certainly at the lower levels down near the ground where the snow
Mhm.
and ice hit it, stuff like that, they age more rapidly. And so it's easy to pick a line at the windowsill on this building and say, this is a reasonable chunk for him to hit in a certain way. And that's what we ended up doing. We had him paint this over the 10, 12 years that I've been doing this, a couple of times. And then there were clapboards that were clearly needing to be replaced. So we then bit the bullet and said, okay, let's do a bunch of new clapboard on this side. The other side, he's gonna do a scrape and paint touch up. He did some priming on a couple of bubbles. We have this odd thing that happens it's just a mystery, but we staying ahead of it. And so he's gonna hit that as well, just on an as needed basis. Then on the other side of town at the Philip Reed Library, the main sign out front is peeling a little bit, so it's gonna spruce that up. And the cornice moldings, mostly if you stand in front of the old section of the library, from the front door around to the right is just looking, we may have done the other half the last time and now the distinction is showing, but we try and just do what needs to get done and not necessarily bite off a whole project if everything doesn't really need it. And so he's gonna do a section around the other side of the building, basically front door to front door up on that cornice work. And we looked at So the shingles, I think I've mentioned to you about that roof, the hip roof shingles, the ones that get bent, have aged prematurely. And in fact, in some of these high wind events, we'll find little bits and pieces on the ground. I had thought we might hit those with a coating to bias. I think we'll need to reshingle next year or at the most the year after, which is that was done in 2002. So it's a little early for a 25-year shingle and certainly early for what was supposed to be a 30-year shingle.
Yeah.
But that's sadly, there is a vintage in there, and I've seen this very consistently that they just did, there's a group of shingles after the Bird lawsuit. They tried some other mixes and they didn't quite get it right away. So 30-year shingles really weren't. Anyway, we need to be budgeting for that project, and I got up on the roof with Marshall, and the more I looked around, even though there's some pieces breaking off because of the way they overlap, I think we can probably get through it as long as people don't panic when they see the pieces on the ground. And I'll try and stay up on that, but we'll keep an eye on it. It's a coating process that I could do on that. It makes no sense to just replace the shingles when you're gonna do the roof and peel it all off in a year or so. So at the moment, I'm cautiously optimistic that we don't have to spend, what will probably be a few $100 to have Marshall coat that ridge gap. That would be the extra cautious way of approaching it, is to be to spend that money now and just know that you couldn't get a leak. I've looked at it enough, I don't really think you're at risk. And so I think that we're good, but we need to be planning for that roof project. So I'm gonna get the guys, assuming the job goes well at Highway, see if they're interested in giving us a number on that roof, for next year. We'll see what goes on with that. See, so Ormsby Computing has got these agents running on our existing equipment, found a couple of things, talked it over with Mark Cohen, some got deleted, some are left, but they're keeping an eye on our stuff and learning what we need. They're in the process of putting together a proposal for getting us to Windows 11. Part of their analysis brought to light that only one of our machines is capable of being taken to.
Although that's not a surprise.
No, yeah, right. It's
We knew
because
that.
you've got the maximum advantage out of
Right.
what were probably Windows 7 boxes.
Right.
So, kudos to Mark and Steve for.
Right, no,
Frugal
we knew
operation.
they weren't going to 11.
Exactly. But they're putting together a proposal to get us up to snuff, and so we'll get that. I don't know if we'll have it in time for the next meeting, but it's pending. Let's see. I met today with a slate roofing contractor. This is a referral from Larry Osmer at KUA. They've had to, for the same reasons we were having with our former slate person, just not showing up when we needed to. I walked through the buildings today. Normally on this first visit, he would have flown a drone around to create a report. With the rain, he couldn't do that. And so he'll come back. He's due back in the next week or so at KUA, so he'll come through. He knows the 3 buildings, and we'll get a report with recommendations and some video that, talks about the specific things if he finds them, and I'm sure he'll find a couple. I'm working on a solution for the phone system. This is all part of our thinking ahead and be prepared for Hub 66 and moving fiber, and wanting to get away from Comcast. So we've got a bunch of different threads, and in the process, so one of the threads is we should have a second mode of communication for every building that has a fire alarm, so that if the phone is in use, it goes to a different path to get to dispatch. We have it on most of our buildings, not all of our buildings. Things have worked just fine. The building that we don't have it on is one that gets relatively little use in terms of the phone line.
Yeah.
So we haven't felt like we were too exposed here, but it's the sort of thing that if we can neaten it up and get everything sort of current as we're moving forward on developing a plan for the migration to a more homogeneous solution for our fire alarms. Anyway, there's a thing called a POTS in a box. POTS is an acronym for plain old telephone system.
No.
And this box sits right at the intersection of what would be the telephone company's wire or the cable company's cable. And it built into it, because this is a known challenge, it has dual modes, so it looks like a copper line to your existing phone system, so there's just a standard jack that you have now where all of our phone lines end up in the little equipment room. It finds its teleco connection through a standard jack. We would keep all our existing equipment and plug into this new device. It would then give us, there's a cell card in it, and it is transparent to the device. So when the fire alarm wants to pick up the phone line and call out because it's detected something it needs to report, it would either find the telephone system, or in the event that was not available, it would find cell signal and it would call out. And again, transparent, we don't have to rewire anything in the fire alarm systems, same wires to it. So there's some appeal to this solution. And along the way, it is a solution provided by a telephone company called MetTel. They provide VoIP service. So if we want to get away from Comcast, we are looking for somebody to provide us internet, and we're looking for somebody to provide us the VoIP phone, the voice over IP phones. And we have legacy or traditional landlines in a couple of the buildings that are copper. They cause problems, or at least we are told they are the source of some problems with our fire alarm systems when they try and check in and they don't get a clean enough signal, is what Mike Compass described it as. And that's a feature of old copper lines that have been tapped and respliced and, many times. And so the world is moving away from copper lines. This would give us a way to move away from copper lines as well. All of this may lead to us not needing a couple of phone lines, which could be very attractive in terms of the money savings. So I have a proposal from them. It is the sort of thing we might move to when Hub 66 becomes an option. No sense moving to them before, because we can't cut the cord with Comcast, because they won't tease out the charge for in the bundle for our phone line. So we're sort of living with Comcast until we can cut the cord completely. I'm trying to bring the pieces together that provide us a cost-effective system that is hopefully homogeneous building to building and takes advantage of what fiber is going to give us and hopefully reduces cost. And so far, we're spending between $1,600 and $1,800 a month on telephone and internet for our buildings. We might make $1,000 a month of that go away if we went with this pots in a box and our fiber. A little early, but that's sort of sitting in my lap.
That's
right now.
attractive, yeah.
Yeah. So
Pursuing.
anyway,
Cover that cost, of those expensive new modems.
Right there.
right there yeah. Because that's every month.
We can buy 9 of them now.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So, the DOT resiliency grant, working with Steve, we just fixed a bunch of address questions. We're in the process of creating a tool that on the first pass will help us prioritize culverts based on community resiliency impact. In other words, not all culverts in bad condition have the same importance to the community.
Right.
If you have a cul-de-sac, one way, no second access, and that culvert goes, then that's a higher priority, other things being equal, than one that does have a back door where you can be inconvenienced and while repair is made. So that we have some data from work that's already been done through the SAGE program that the Conservation Commission funded. That gave us a ton of information about our culverts. We're taking this a little bit to more. That one of the primary ranks was condition. So you get a list of which ones they say are in poor condition. So those are obviously top of the list. We did some another little project with Upper Valley Lake Sunapee where they gave us road grade. The theory was steeper roads, culverts on steeper roads, ditches on steeper roads are more important than flat roads in the event of a surge storm, a little freshet that dumps a bunch of water unexpectedly. So when you're planning your maintenance, maybe you do those first, right? It's an organizational tool for Ritchie. So we're working on this. This is all under a DOT grant. Mark Goodwin working with us on the GIS information, which this is all GIS based stuff. So that's progressing. at some point, we'll have some visuals that'll be fun to show you. We heard yesterday that the engineers, so the DOT grants a two-piece thing. The second piece was the section of River Road where we have some settling going on down by Weira's, by the falls. And they just sent us an email saying the engineers are finally ready to come by, when would we like to see them? We expect that what will come out of that is like recommendations on native plantings. That's kind of the point where it is, but they may come up with something else, we'll find out. So that's it for facilities mostly. Water department. We did a full system flush last Saturday and Sunday. Everything went well, and the best indicator is we haven't heard a peep from anybody about muddy water. And so I think, although we have not timed out, so the basic process is open up the hydrant, let a pile of water from, and it just scours that section of the system by running lots of water through it. Typically, what you get is this burst of iced tea, and then you watch it until it runs clear, and then you watch it beyond that in a container, you take samples and look for floating stuff. And when the floating stuff is pretty minimalized or non-existent, you move to the next hydrant, and you do it in an orderly fashion, so you're basically pushing everything out. And so I think what's happening, and we're gonna start timing it, I think it's going to clear faster. Right, each time we have flushed, we flushed now 3 times since we took over the system. And each time, I believe it's taken a little less time, mostly because we seem to be finishing before dark, you know. So that's my only metric at the moment, but that's.
And with the drought, it had been a year since you'd flushed.
Right, well, that's the other thing, is that we had a 6-month cycle going on, or attempting, when we first took it on. I'd like to get to 3 times a year. Spring, mid-year, and fall, midsummer and fall. Midsummer may be dicey because of drought conditions. Fall might also be dicey, but in a more perfect world, if you're thinking about 365, how do you can't do it in the wintertime, so what's the best next step? So that's sort of our target, and at the moment, we did this one, you know, this last weekend. We've got another one scheduled tentatively for late July, early August, something like that, and then one in November, December. Only 12 meters left to swap out of our original 87. The 87 is 2/3 of our district. The last would be the ones in the trailer, in the mobile home park. But of the 87, 12 are left, and so I expect to finish those up in the next
That's a
month
real
or so.
progress.
Yeah, well, we had hoped to have the 87 done by the end of this year.
Yeah.
So we're ahead of schedule
That's-
on
yeah.
that. Of the 74 that are in, all but 10 are self-reporting now. So whenever we need to read them, we don't have to go into the field. Eventually, I'd like to get that number to 0.
Sure.
But even if it's just a few, you know, it's a huge savings. And what's been even more interesting, we can drill into, we don't normally look at any kind of detailed consumption. We take the gross number and bill it, but we can with this hardware drill into it and say, okay, how much has been used in a certain period of time? Or what was really relevant, are any of these not going to 0? If your meter is not going to 0 sometime in your billing cycle, you probably have a leak. And so the vendor has been working on some alarm things to offer us as part of the software that's in the package. And we're very interested in watching that, because leaks are sort of a waste of money. And anyway, so we've had a couple of instances where we had questionable consumption. They actually called us, the vendor called us and said, hey, I don't know if you noticed, but this one seems high. I was literally exchanging emails with him saying, we had a customer call and he's saying, I'm living here by myself and I don't think I used 18,000 gallons last quarter. And I thought, probably not, you know? And so anyway, we've been sort of, the more we get this equipment installed, the more insight into our district we get. So it's all to the good. Let's see. Oh yeah, as when Frank is in changing the meters, we're taking pictures. That helps us document the service line material, which is part of the lead and copper rule,
Mhm.
federal requirement. So we had to, by the end of this year, have visually inspected 20%, 24 of our customers. I'm about to send Hazen and Sawyer, our consulting engineers group, 84
Wow.
pictures of verified service lines. No lead anywhere. It's all plastic and copper, just as we suspected from anecdotal experience of former commissioners and what our drawing said. So we're about to be, in good stead on our federal compliance and well on our way to having identified all of them by the time we finish our New Year's law. Which would be, I think, in the end, they give us till 2035 to have visually
Ah.
inspected and identified all, well, there's two pieces. You have from the curb stop to the customer's basement is the customer's portion of the service line. From the main to the curb stop is the utility district's service line. And we have to identify that as well. Now, same vintage, all installed at the same time, demonstrating that you've got plastic here, it's a very high likelihood that you have plastic on the other side. The law says for a while you can skate on that, but at some point you have to get eyes on all of it. And so we're looking into mechanisms by which we can do that. So, it's something that is going to be an ongoing chore for the water department is to comply with this lead and copper rule. But at the moment, we're in good shape. We're a little ahead of most folks. The asset management grant work is working right now. We're still gathering the data into the two databases, the asset management and the capital planning databases. We're still on track to finish the end of the year. Not much has changed in the last 20 days or whenever it was we last met. And the engineering review of our water treatment, that's under the sustainability grant. It's a little slow getting off the ground. I hope to be further along by this meeting. But I've had conversations with the engineer who's going to be doing the work. We're about to have our kickoff meeting. I think that's what I told you last time. We are still about to have our kickoff meeting. That's part of the requirements of the grant, but I expect that the actual work is something that'll get completed over a couple of months. So this isn't a huge showstopper, but we are anxious to get that information so that we know what our options are in terms of improving the way we treat. We still face pressure issues and filter. We're consuming lots of filters to keep the water clean. And so nobody thinks that's the best we can do. We're just waiting to hear officially what our options are. And that's probably enough.
Great, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You weren't kidding. You have a lot too.
You've got one.
Yeah.
Before you guys go, or you can stay, but I mean, if you were getting ready to go, of course, I just wanted, Dan Cantlin asked
Yes.
that he's in a bit of a conundrum about Spirit Day.
Okay.
And what he says is PES is going to open early this year.
Oh.
So Sunday night, 8:30, August 30 is not a great choice because they open up Monday the 30, or the next day, the 31st. 8:23, a week back, is the Sunday of the Cornish Fair, which means no McNamara
Oh.
ice cream, and people are probably fared out
Yeah.
or celebrated out.
Right.
So that moves us back as far as 8/16, which really isn't the last Sunday in August, but that's what it is. And so Dan is like, do we do it? Do we not do it? Do we just say this isn't gonna be a year we're gonna have Spirit Day? Or I think Dan has come to the point where 8/16 it's the best we can do. That is the date that we
What's
would
the
pick.
concern with the
The
Sunday
30th.
before?
Yeah, what's wrong with the night before school starts?
Oh, cleanup time.
Clean up.
Yeah, and just the fact that school opens the next day, Audra didn't seem to be worried about it.
staying up watching the fireworks instead of
So what about doing it Saturday night?
Saturday instead
The
of Sunday.
29th?
We hadn't thought of Saturdays, we could do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
There's one right before Sunday.
Well,
That's
Almost every week.
I think the group think that we're in is that the warrant article said it would be Sunday night, the last Sunday, so we're trying to live with that, but Saturday might.
Oh, I dropped that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Hold on,
I
let's,
don't wanna miss Max. You're
Either that or
dreamy.
other
just
thoughts that-
because I know he is really on this
Yeah.
in terms of it causes, I mean, Dan Cannon on this, and we've acknowledged it with the Taylor Award, is one of the, he's a song hero, but he puts a lot of effort in
Yeah.
to a
He sure
program
does.
that doesn't cost the town of Plainfield very much money.
If it's trash pickup, I helped last year and I'd be happy to help that night.
My guess is
You know.
that.
But the Saturday,
He is right, the kids.
Yeah,
we keep
Kids won't be out.
hey, Dan,
Ready for school.
just so you know, you're on speakerphone with the selectmen's meeting.
meeting.
Stephanie Shell has made the suggestion, thinking about this in a different way than you and I were thinking. How about Saturday night, the 29th?
I'd be good with that. I always wanted to try a Saturday anyways.
Oh,
Hallelujah, let's do it.
Dan Cannon, you're like the nicest, like. Make it happen.
So,
Okay.
so do you want, I mean, I didn't want this to have to wait 2 more weeks, Dan, cause I know you're already thinking that you've gotta start lining things up. I like to think the summer hasn't gotten here yet and you're planning for the end of it, but I appreciate the fact that you're doing that. So,
Fireworks guys gonna do it?
yeah, that's usually an okay, cause it's not Memorial Day week or Labor Day weekend or,
Okay.
I mean, is that, or just back up to the next Saturday if that didn't work? Well, Saturday, that would be Cornish Fair, that would be
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, we're not gonna do
29th
Cornish Fair.
Or,
Let's
Or go
try,
back to the
Wait.
drawing board.
let's try to make the 29th work, Dan.
Alright, the only thing is if it rains, we go into Sunday, but
that's
But,
okay.
but that's okay, that's just the risk. I mean,
That's the
the
story.
initial thought here was that maybe, the Sunday night isn't that bad with school the next day. We could get town forces to help clean up, but Saturday would, I'm sure, make Audra feel better
I
because
think parents would feel better
That's
too.
good. More likely to
There's-
come.
There's the night before school can be a thing, right?
Yeah,
Get
that's a
every-
good point.
and
Although maybe it'd be good to have
If-
them run around instead of.
if none of the Saturdays worked, would you go to the 16th, Sunday the 16th? Is that worth doing?
Could you go forward?
I would go.
Go the other way
Yeah, go
into
the next
September?
weekend?
Go
I'd go.
deeper into September.
I
Yeah,
think
but
the
then
next
if you
weekend is
do-
Labor Day.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you'd
Go
be,
past Labor Day.
If you do it on a Sunday, you're still got
No,
a school
no,
day the
Saturday.
next day.
Could you
Oh,
go,
okay.
Yeah,
if you couldn't do that, go to a
yeah,
Saturday.
I mean, it's supposed to be an end of summer discussion,
Yeah.
party, get together. Discussion, that's what we do is discuss. Dan, let's make the 29th work,
okay.
all right?
We'll put in for a request for field use, school use, that date.
And then you and I will get back with North Star Fireworks and, most importantly, Liz McNamara, and make
Yeah,
sure the ice
okay.
cream truck is available.
Make sure that Liz is
Yeah.
available.
All right, that's our direction, Dan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thanks.
Big award for you.
I
Nicely
know.
done.
Hey,
Sometimes the answer is right
I
there.
wear party planner hat too.
Well done, you sure do.
We kid ourselves, but it is the max presence that makes it.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
We're
mean-
not kidding.
I mean, it is,
Yeah.
again, full disclosure, as we've talked about, it is the equivalent of one very nice house in
Yeah.
Plainfield, not a luxury house, but a reasonable house in Plainfield
Yeah.
would pay $8,000 or $9,000 in taxes. And we spend 8,000 or 9,000 in that one night. And so it's just, it's very different than the model that came out of the 250th celebration.
And it may be possible, if this can't happen, maybe this year we do take a break, right?
Right, and
Like,
it is also the most,
People love it.
people stop into town hall afterwards and say, well, cannot believe I live in a community that gets us all together for this. I mean, people love Spirit Day.
They do.
They do. And I mean, free ice cream and fireworks.
But,
I mean,
yeah,
corn.
we're not band, usually that's what to love.
Yeah, no, it is, but at the end of the day, we're here living together. It's our community, and so that's, Rich was out with fire and
Yeah.
last night, moving trees around that nature had put in our roads, unfortunately.
How's it going with grading? He's
Grading.
Yes.
No, the grader's out. The grader is,
Cause it's been a slow start to getting.
I mean, I think Rich suspected when we chose that grader that there'd be a shakedown period. We knew that it had not been used in a few years.
Yeah.
So we've replaced we've repacked cylinders, you don't replace them, and we've
Okay.
changed some hoses. He graded 2 roads the other day, on Tuesday. Today was rainy, so he's not on it. He's ordered a roll, so we'll have the roller for the month. And he's got some projects that his crew is gonna be working on, but every day that he can grade, Rich is in the grader. And he knows he's gotta make the spring turnaround, and he knows that steep hills, who are most vulnerable right now on steep hills. It's hard because you really wanna do it methodically. You don't wanna be over there
Sure.
tomorrow and over here the
move
day
it.
after that.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of worked this way around town. But the machine is operational and we are grading roads.
Is he still using you to come up with that pretty neat map system of?
Yes, he
what's being
reports,
graded? Is
he
still
reports each.
Keeping that up?
Yep, he does.
I mean, that was helpful in seeing
Yep, and
strategically where he. might
and
be
we'll put
going.
a fresh map on the wall and he'll give us that information, and there'll come a day when he'll have a laptop in his truck.
Yeah, I
and
know.
he'll- But it's not there yet.
But this is a pretty
Yeah.
elegant, simple way to do some of
Well,
that.
we could almost, I should talk to Mark, we might be able to make it a little more live,
Well, there you
Um,
So,
without too
a
much.
flashing dot where the grader is.
No.
go. No, we're not. So
I mean,
yeah,
yeah.
that apple's
You don't mind if I put these little.
Right, don't go-
on your
Right.
thing?
But
Balance.
people are hungry to have their road graded,
I know,
and
I
he's out there. He is,
As a follow-up to that, though, so he's done a couple of roads and he's still happy with having gotten this thing?
oh yeah, no, I mean, this grader. We had the Volvo tech truck here helping us diagnose an electrical issue, which was easy to fix. So there is service available for it. People know this grader. The people who take care of it. Champion is now owned by Volvo. And so when you see a Volvo grader, you're seeing an old Champion, a Champion grader under a different name. The grader, I mean, the locals like to poke at us about it. It has 1,900 hours total. It is a brand new machine. It has anything that is a rubber gasket or a seal is gonna cause us a little stress because it hasn't been used and it's been dried out. But yeah, I mean. What we need is to get through the rotation and then we'll be ready for the fall thing.
Yeah.
And we're laid out of the gate a little bit and we know that. He did make some valiant efforts with our stone rake and our backhoe and gravel to try to fix potholes in the worst places. It's been frustrating when we were waiting for the cylinders to be repacked. And I think Richard, if you were sitting here, he would say, what I should have done is done them all at once. Instead of thinking, oh, that one's leaking, I'll go with that one. But then you figure out that this one's leaking too. So I think we're gonna shine. That baby's gonna shine enough.
Okay.
And so it's happening.
Irrational exuberance.
Yeah, thank you. I know. Why do I do that?
We just
And
gotta-
so I think, George Hildum's been in town 3 days. He'll be back. He's doing, there's a bill and, well, you didn't see it yet, but there's a bill in this for, it's $5,600, which is normal pickup work for George for 3 days of, and then at home, he works remotely. I'm pointing to that computer because it's back. He actually stays at my house, but he works off that computer over there. He can access that computer remotely. And he does, so he is, we're on track for being ready for first tax billing. That's his thing. That's his job to have us ready. Michelle leaned today, and so on a $9 million warrant for last year for collected money, she leaned $47,000, which is an insanely small amount. As we know, we have 2 or 3 houses that are not performing, and she would like to, at some point, talk to the board about what we deal with that. As we've said so many times in these meetings, any town in the area, including Hanover, if you told them you had 3 non-performing houses in terms of taxes, they would laugh you out of the room. And so Plainfield is very, our system works, people are paying their bills. The money that we're not getting, we get at sale. We've seen it multiple times now. It is money that will not go to the seller. It is money that will go to the purchaser. This board and all the boards I've ever worked for has mostly said we're not in the business of taking people out of their homes.
Hard one.
And so we're gonna get paid, we're gonna earn interest. Obviously, we don't condone the activity, you need to pay your
Correct, we
taxes.
would like them to
You know,
pay,
you need
right?
to pay your taxes, but on $9 million, she collected everything but 47. So the lien process essentially is the town pays those taxes and then takes, we have the liability or the lien against the property. In the old days, we would have been selling those at auction. And guys like Peony Goodwin would have purchased them, and when they purchased them for 3 years in a row, they would boot you out of your house.
Yeah.
And the system was very cold, and it's not that cold anymore. If you look in Old Town reports, people who were unable to pay their taxes were shamed by having it printed in the annual report. There was a list each year of people that didn't pay taxes. Again, not, so,
Oh, it's not anymore.
no, we don't, we haven't done it, and we've never done it in the time that I've worked for the town, so they stopped sometime prior to that, but that used to be, it used to be a very strong incentive to pay your taxes.
I remember.
Because you didn't want your name in the book, for history, so, you know, all the normal stuff that we do in the summer, or springtime, summer is happening. I think, you know, we've got, Michelle and Brad have worked out a system for water district billing. And that, I think the new meters are paying dividends onto that. We're all, you know, waiting and working on the computer upgrades that'll happen. We're continuing to do some cross training on the various accounting functions that we have in the office. You know, getting used to the new software. We've got a few cycles on it. The one that's probably been a little harder for us to get used to is just the payroll package, because it's incredibly new to us, but it's very robust and deep, and we've got most people now get their checks automatically deposited and get an email that says it's, you know, that it's been processed. And I think we're down to, on most weeks, 2 paper checks. So it's all
You
working.
could, do the pay stub side of that electronically. You could say postage, sending me a pay stub. every
Yeah,
month.
no, do you get an emailed one?
No,
If we leave a note for Sarah to put you on cause every week you'll get it Monday, you'll hear a beep and it'll be on your phone.
That's fine, because I thought it was silly since I became chief that I get a pay stub in the mail
For the ACH.
every month, yeah.
Yeah, no, so talk to Sarah
Okay.
and you'll get on the list and that'll be one less.
So I should do that too.
Yeah, no, and
Yeah.
she may not have reached out to monthlies yet, just because we've been concentrating on,
Yeah.
but anybody that gets paid cannot get the piece of paper, can get an email.
That's perfectly fine with me.
There you go. So I'll make a note here
Remember
too.
Black had a social security number.
Elder and Shell. Okay, did you wanna move on, Chair?
I would like, oh, no,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I would like to ask if my fellow select board member has a
Oh,
question.
and I had one other.
Well, it's more like a comment. I just want everybody to be aware of how much help Steve has been on the master plan.
Yeah.
Helping the master board,
Oh,
the master plan through the planning
Uh-huh.
board. Get organized and dealing with the regional planning commission, which has been a little bit of a bear.
So we're getting there. Thanks to, we'll pass back the compliment. Thanks to Elise Angelello, we are doing a master plan, because
Yeah.
most of the planning board was trying to avoid it like the plague.
Yeah, right.
It's like, everybody's like, hey, what would you like to do? Go to Thomas tonight or work on the master plan? Oh, let's work on the master plan. That would be
Yeah,
great.
yeah, that's.
Just the
Yeah.
term master plan would
Yeah,
cause some
right.
people some
Yeah,
some
sure.
I
unease.
cringe.
And there will be a round of
Sometimes
public
you are.
hearings coming up where people can come in. I mean, I think, and we've talked about this at our meetings a bunch of times, the most striking evidence that we've seen in the update is how how much Plainfield is aging and not having young families. That is the average age in the years that I've worked here, just because that's my reference point,
Mhm.
has gone from 29 to well into their 50s.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
most of the transfers that we get for homes in the town of Plainfield don't involve mortgages. They're just cash purchases, which means you've owned a house, you've
Right.
sold it,
Right.
and now you're at a point in your life where you bought your next house and you just pay for it. And
So
so-
only
dramatic
like
stuff.
60-something% of our workforce is actually working.
Wow. Oh,
And only 0.4% is considered unemployed, so it's not that we have a workforce. That's, unemployable,
Right, there,
Yeah.
And we have
Which is something
53
very-
young people who aren't working, so
Yeah.
know they're living in mom and dad's basement.
Yeah.
Right, cause where else would they
They're
be?
between the ages of 35 and 45.
Interesting.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
okay.
The only other thing, before we do the last item, is, just as an update, I put it in the packet, but we're 62% of the year and 66% of the budget remaining. So we got 66% remaining with 62% of the year remaining.
Good number.
We're on the right side, but I think one of the things, and I talked to Rich about it today, and it's really hard for. He's not gonna be able to get with any confidence a paving number, right? Because
Right.
they're gonna say, we'll tell you the week before or the week of. We hope that petroleum product costs are gonna start to go down. But I do think when you look at what we budgeted for diesel and what it's costing,
Yeah.
gas, what it's costing and paving, I do think we will wanna be conservative in our highway budget and pull back something, save some amount of road project money, 30,000, some number like that, to offset what we think will be petroleum-based
Yeah.
costs. Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, this will, we're just at the beginning of buying $6 diesel.
Yeah.
Right, I
Right.
mean, it's just,
Right.
and I think I saw tonight at the Meriden Deli, 465.
Yeah, went up since like 2 days
I know, I
ago.
went by BJ's, which is usually,
Right.
they're at like 420 something.
And so-
Yeah,
And there's no, everything highway buys is petroleum based,
Yeah.
everything,
I know.
tires,
Yeah.
and so we need to be careful and watch that closely as we go through the next piece. So, since our last meeting,
Yeah.
at your request, we sent out a bunch of information we had not perhaps considered as much as we should have, that the board has changed.
Right.
We had 3 members and we still have 3, but two are different.
Yeah.
From when we met in Kearsarge, took an entire year off.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Right,
it got to be like.
They took an
just-
entire
yeah.
year off to
Yeah.
do a water, they had to do an ATA, alternative terrain permit for the solar array. And so what you essentially said, the Board of Selectmen, said to Kearsarge when we were meeting with them, is that we want a tax-based solution
Mhm.
that would be based on town and county taxes, not school district taxes.
Right.
Arrays don't put kids in school. So if you do that math, George assesses the array for about $1 million.
Mhm.
They would pay about $6,000 in tax if they're paying. What they have said is we need certainty for our financing instrument, and that's common with arrays. And what they wanted George to do was depreciate over time, the array as it gets used up, which we do that periodically, but with the revals. And they would be subject to increases in assessment, in tax rates, right? So the value might go down, but the tax rate might go up for other reasons. And so the answer to that solution, or the solution to that issue, was $6,000 doesn't change unless the array gets bigger or the array gets smaller. But it's $6,000 every year, and if arrays suddenly depreciate in the next 10 years, they wanted a 20-year deal. We wanted a 5-year deal.
Yeah.
10 is this, we can do 10 by the statute. But essentially, they pay 6 no matter what happens to the value of their array and what happens to the value of the tax rate.
Right.
There was some documents that were put on the back of it, which is essentially an independent group, albeit a group that supports solar, I understand that.
From the ones.
Clean Energy New Hampshire. I mean, essentially around the state, a 1 megawatt. And you gotta go AC versus DC, and we've made that conversion, but a 1 megawatt. Which this will be, it's really 9.99, but that's for another bunch of reasons. Would pay around the state between $3,000 and $4,000 a year. They've agreed to pay 6 because you guys wanted it based on what at one moment in time the taxes would be for town and school. And so in George's assessment of about $1 million. So that's where we are. I mean, we have an agreement that George has looked at. Says it's really not my thing, but I've seen a few of these. I can read it. Barry Schuster has looked at it,
Yeah.
made a couple of adjustments. They are waiting to see how Plainfield feels about they being Kearsarge. If we say no pilot, the project won't happen. And that's okay. If we say we will do the pilot that we said we'd do a year ago,
Which
or
is the 6,000 for 10
6,000
years.
For 10 years,
Yes.
then they probably will go. I mean, at this point, the project has, whether we like it or not, and I have some real strong feelings, I drive Stage Road every day, you know, I'm gonna look at this thing a lot. I'm not gonna see it as much as you see the one across the river, but none of them are attractive, right? When I drive up the interstate in Vermont, I don't look over where I used to see dairy fields and see solar fields and say, why isn't that better? But we know what they're doing. They're generating electricity in a way that's different than burning dinosaurs. Something that's probably needs to be looked at and more in our country as we go forward. This project has been through zoning board, met with neighbors.
Right.
It's been through planning board twice really, because they had to do it twice, because we did it.
And this board spent quite a bit of time on it.
On
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so we are sort of here and it's time, I think it's time, you know, you lead us through it, Amy, but I think it is time for the town to either say, yep, we're gonna do this, or no, we're not gonna do it. This would become the standard for somebody else puts, you know,
Right.
if somebody puts a 500 watt, no, I'm gonna get my math wrong. 5,000, 500,000, is it a million?
Doubling it or
500,000?
halving it?
It's like double capacity.
Yeah,
Right, if it's half the capacity, they're gonna pay 3, if they double the capacity, they're gonna pay 12. Because this is the one that will set the benchmark.
That's right. So I think, you know, thank you for sending all this out because my memory on it
Yeah,
was
well,
like, I remembered, but
It's been a
the
long time.
details and I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Evan's presentation and the discussions, by rereading them. I think, you know, and it's like we're definitely, while we hadn't voted, was leaning towards this, which does not mean that we need to now, but that was where we have indicated, I think, to Kearsarge.
Yeah, there was a
You know,
fairly
we
strong
probably didn't
statement in the
stop the
minute that said,
conversation,
this is
correct?
what it'll be if there's a pilot.
Yeah, you know, and where I look at it is, well, 6,000, there's no home that's going to be built on this property, right? Like, if this doesn't happen, it's still a vacant field. And it's money that we would not be getting in. It also does align with our values as a town, which says we'd like to
And
be.
actually, in
promoting solar.
terms of tax impact.
Yes,
There's actually an additional 1,000 to 1,500 that comes in because the
Because of-
shallow ways lose the current use
that's right.
on their property.
The one question I had, Stephen, and then I will, but while I'm thinking of it, I had remembered, and I thought I had remembered, and I read in it that, there was some discussion about some of that, some of the energy coming back into town buildings, and I think the last time we talked, you weren't sure that.
Yeah,
was
and
happening.
I can check with Andrew about that. I think they're, do you remember that in terms of?
It's in our
They were
minutes.
making a commitment to having a certain percentage of the energy produced go into the pool of energy that's
Right.
dedicated towards low income
So,
families.
okay.
So it wasn't specifically directed towards
In some of
Plainfield.
the minutes, it suggested it was that we might save.
But I will cover that with Andrew. I mean, I'm not sure it's a deal
I
breaker,
don't think it's a
but
deal breaker.
but
I
it's,
just
but if they
wanted
can do
clar-
that, they
clarity.
should do that, right?
Correct.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that at this time, there, like with this array, where that array is,
Mhm.
if the Shalloways wanted to, they could subdivide off that piece of land and there would be road access from Stage Road to be able to put a house there.
Mhm.
So it's not that the site is unsuitable for a house. It's just this is a situation where it's being used in an environmentally safe way
Mhm.
and offsetting, carbon footprints
Yeah.
for
Thank,
other.
thank you for that clarity on that, because right,
but
I guess
they
my
could-
thing is there's no plan to.
There's no
They could,
plan.
You're right.
Right.
But I think this is a financial advantage for them, but they could get the same kind of advantage from selling off the back part of the land that butts on Stage Road
Yes.
and just keeping their house
Yeah.
on the 120 side.
Right.
So.
I had tried to email to you and it kept coming, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm sure these 3 people are our selectmen. Why is it bouncing
I can
back?
tell you. Yeah.
Well, what I picked, if you go to the town website, one of the meetings that the planning board had, there is a very detailed site plan. It's 38 megs, and that's why it wouldn't go through. It just kept exceeding the limits. But what it showed was the commitment that Kearsarge has made to do screening on all four sides. You know, the stage road side gets we've had a little chuckle over whether the deer will eat white cedar or not. They say they won't, at least isn't sure, but every neighbor has met with them and talked about what the screening will look like. You probably don't see much of it from 120 because it's down the hill and screened. Stage road, as you go by the Reiches in the fall, it'll be there, but there is screening along the Reiches line.
But they're talking about using evergreens for their screening, so, and it wasn't just the white cedars, they were going to do spruces as well, but.
And they've done, the Reiches were concerned that their trees might fall, most people don't know in the state of New Hampshire, if your tree damages your neighbor's property, you're responsible.
That's right.
And so the Kearsarge absolved all the neighbors of any damage to the fence or damage to and also agreed to cut down a couple of trees that were bothering the Reiches. Make no mistake, the Reiches aren't wild about
I was gonna say,
this
yeah, yeah.
array, but they were able to, get those things. I think my experience is unlike the other solar arrays we have in town, this one is going to remain owned by people we can call. Kearsarge Power seems to retain. It's kind of like the old Mascoma Savings Bank that said we don't sell your mortgages, we keep them local. I think the one at the school is terribly disappointing because it is always overgrown with weeds. The fence is always broken down and there is no one on the planet who looks after it every day. This one will be different. There is a team of people associated with this who will keep it, as neat and tidy as a solar array can be. But at the end of the day, your piece of it is, you are legally allowed to enter pilots. And I think it is a fact and consistent around the state. There are no arrays that are just paying the freight, of this size. They just, if you
No,
don't,
you can see that.
it has to be a pilot with them or they don't come. And again, whatever answer we need, I think Kearsarge just wants to know what the answer is so they can either do this project or move on to another one.
So my number one concern was the effects on the neighbors, and I saw the Reiches were back.
Yeah.
From Florida, and I tried to give Dennis a call, but, they got some sort of phone issue, like, their 469 number.
Right, well, and I think actually what you're seeing is a decoy, cause I fell into the.
Oh, yeah.
Well, cause I think the Reiches, whoever moves their car for storage, brings it back early to stop the monthly payments.
Oh, really?
Cause it hasn't moved, cause
Yeah.
to me, he's.
So I was just curious,
And
and
I
I
was just,
didn't
I
call.
don't think they're here
Mark,
yet.
But you told me, and everybody says that the neighbors have been mollified and are happy with it, or they're okay.
Yeah,
with the
happy would
product
be a
and all
stretch,
that
but
sort of
yeah.
stuff. So then I had to say to myself, well, who am I to question? The zoning board has agreed to this, I've seen the other planning board and all that sort of, the neighbors are on board with it. Who am I to? The only thing I would say about it is two things. One, if it's been a long time since 6,000 was agreed upon, let's look at inflation and all that and add to it,
Right.
make sure that it's.
But that number was
That's
just
actually high, yeah.
calculated.
It was actually a lot lower originally,
Yes,
right? Like
you're right, well, right, they
And
want.
then two, once this thing goes bust, who's responsible for cleaning that stuff out, taking it out?
There's a bond that they have to, there's a legal document that they file that pays for it to be taken out of the Callaway's field when it's no longer.
So I don't think it's my place to oppose something that all these people, including the neighbors, have agreed to.
Mhm.
So I support it, is
Are
what
you
I'm
making
saying.
a motion?
No,
And are we,
Okay, okay.
are you supporting this at the 6,000? Are we? Cause you said, I think you said it
That actually had
originally
been
was
less.
Right, I mean,
correctly.
you're right, if you look at the data, most of these are paying 3 to 4, so our
Yes.
6. Our 6 will be high, it's not, essentially, when you drive by it. You're not seeing current use at $125. You're seeing sort of a modest house in our town, right? That's the value but it is something, it is.
so you don't think you could say 65?
Well,
Oh, I think you could say
we can
65,
say it, they-
but I
they-
think they feel like 6 is their, is their,
So,
where they
If
are.
I'm reading this correctly, I'm looking at an email
Yeah.
from you in 2023 to the board, and it looks like at that time, they were offering a pilot of 3,700.
Right.
So that,
Yeah, no, I
Sound
think
about
we
right.
step, and
so they
then,
have adjusted it up to 6,000, I think at the time.
right, well, you guys took this unconventional approach of saying, we're gonna base the pilot on what municipal, at the time it's built, what municipal taxes and county taxes would be, because everybody pays those and
And
uses.
so that,
And so that, you know,
Over.
and I think the 6 is. I think in order to move it along, they've said we'll do, I mean, George Hilden will tell you, and let's not, you know, these guys are big businesses.
Right.
This, you know,
they're not,
they're not gonna not do this if it doesn't make them money, right? That's why they did it, is to make
Right.
money. And so this is a good pilot in terms of the current market, but they're still making money. I mean, no,
Sure.
and we're not, and we
Sure,
wouldn't
they're
want them not to, because it wouldn't be, you know, that's the business they're in.
So I'm going to move that we accept this proposal for the construction of the solar panel array on the address at Stage Road that I'm not remembering right now, with a pilot of $6,000 for a 10-year period. Is that a complete enough motion?
I think so, I think as laid out in the contract before us, maybe.
As
okay,
laid
so we're not
out in the
missing-
contract before.
Or there's some details in there, I don't wanna, I don't wanna.
Yes, and.
Change the
And
contract.
it's a contract that has been reviewed by
By-
town council.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay,
that's my motion.
are you interested in seconding? I can second my motion, can't I? As
You
the chair?
can.
I mean, I always like.
You're a chair, you can do anything you want.
You
I
still
always
tell her
make them
that.
do it.
I will second it.
Okay. All in favor? Right,
Aye.
okay, it's a unanimous decision.
So
Thank
if
you.
you just sign there and then we will move. One of the, well, and we did it with Barrington Power, much smaller array, they paid. Well, we moved it down to 725. We had started out at $3,000 a year and they had agreed to it. And then they came back and said, I can't pay that, that's crazy. What were we thinking? And so we ended up, but they paid for 5 years. But in the meantime, Plainfield upped its exemption to 300,000. What Kearsarge wanted was the million less the 300,000 that we used to calculate the pilot. And George and I said, well, that's ridiculous. You either pay taxes and get the exemption, or you don't pay taxes and we do the pilot.
Yeah.
So it is, but I think it's, you know, it'll be a change there. You know, we've driven by that field, but it is, to your point, Ken, our job is the pilot piece.
Yeah.
Other boards have
Right.
dealt with the social
Well,
issues.
and we've
and-
examined it to death, really. Yeah, the planning board, I should say, not just like, I don't have multiple personalities walking around in there.
No,
You whacked your head too hard.
Yeah.
Friendly elites, nice elites.
Then there's,
One of you said
then
that.
there's planning board of these.
So,
Um,
so what happens in year 11? 'Cause you're signing this for 10 years.
right,
You
it is,
negotiated or-
it is renewable by both parties if both parties agree. And if not, then it would go on the tax rolls and whatever
They
happens,
go on
happens.
the tax rolls, full vote unless something's renegotiated.
Unless whatever exemption exists at that, and they know that, I mean, that's why they really balked at 5. I'm
Mhm.
guessing they pay most of their loan off in the first 10, right? And so they want this, you know, so that's, yeah, it is up to another board at another time to figure out, and we'll know more.
Yeah.
You know, we'll have more information about pilots and solar arrays and we've not had anyone, you know, this one. We think of it as very large, 5 acres of panels,
I know.
but we have not had others recently,
Right.
you know, in
Well,
fact, I
that's
sort of
good.
thought the change at the federal level. In terms of, you know, the federal government might end this, they just wouldn't do it anymore, cause I think a lot of incentives, but I think they maybe buy enough solar panels that they had bought. Supply ahead of time, that would maybe do this, too, I don't know. They don't tell us this.
All right, other business?
I think that's what we've got for tonight.
Cool.
Go ahead, Liz.
I move that we
But they're
adjourn
waking up
the meeting.
I will second that then.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Nicely done.
Thank you all. We're very busy.
We got some